morning, Al.
Good morning,
And
Sophia.
I'm glad that you joined us. There have been a lot of stories and legends that have gone out about artists, that they're eccentric, temperamental, and moody. Does this description apply to all artists, and does it apply to you?
It surely doesn't apply to all artists, but I would say that most artists, genuine artists, are sensitive. As to eccentric and moody and all of the other adjectives, I think those are general stereotypes that have grown out of the Renaissance and the 19th century descriptions of artists, primarily by writers who look in at the artist. But art requires a certain amount of sensitivity, and the eccentricity that people see in the artist generally comes from the artist attempting to break rules and to challenge theories and ideas that have not been tested heretofore.
Do you adhere to any particular art school?
Yes, I do. I'm primarily an abstract expressionist, and I like to paint expressionistically to music.
Where do you get your ideas?
Primarily from nature and inner calling and life experience.
Your mother was a classical pianist, and your father was a clarinetist. How much of an influence were they on you?
They were an enormous influence on my life, particularly in a personal way, teaching me values. Much of my character and my decision-making since the point when they have been gone now for 10 or 15 years, as they died at a young age, as you know, has been molded by them. Professionally, of course, I was influenced by them because they were fine musicians, but they always let myself and my sister kind of find our own way, and they really didn't promote us to go into music, and they didn't certainly teach us themselves, even though we played the same instruments.
You know, a lot of people ask, and the question I'm going to ask you, because they asked me too, were you born to sing, or were you born to play music, or do you think musicians are made?
Well, I think maybe it's a little bit of both. I have a particular aversion to people that say that musicians are only born, because I deal a lot with young people, and I really try to promote to them that especially any cultural aspect of life, music and the arts, are something that everyone should have a hand in doing. I think to a certain degree, you know, that's true. After that, the really, really talented ones, certainly they're born with something.
You know, you and I both have studied music, so we often have people ask us, could you play by ear first, or did you learn to read music? How do you feel about people that play by ear, or do you think one is better than the other?
I think that in the modern world, you need to do both. Obviously, you need to use your ear, which is the most important tool to a musician.
So there comes that theory, which I didn't like in school.
Sure, there's theory, and there's piano training and
ear training,
history, and all kinds of aspects, which you really need to do. Even
you do.
People think that jazz musicians oftentimes, in the old days, they would, you know, pick up a trumpet out of a garbage can and start playing, and were wonderful artists, which is true. In the modern era, that's not so much the case. A lot of even avant-garde and jazz musicians now really need to be trained, because there's a lot of music that you can only play by reading it.
Being in an ensemble such as Dionysian, how much practice is involved?
On a personal level, or for the group, you mean?
For the group, and you know, as a personal level.
Okay.
You have a lot to practice, don't you?
Yes, I practice quite a bit, not as much as I did when I was younger. After a certain point, I think there's a maintenance that's the most important aspect of it. Our group practices dependent on how often we play. We have a regular performance schedule because we rely on grants, and we perform for inner-city children a lot, and they don't have very much money. So as soon as anyone is able to come up with a little bit of money, then we get together and work hard.
Was there ever a time when you were growing up that you wanted to give up and spend time playing baseball and football and that kind of thing, and you had to practice?
I don't really remember a time when I hated the instrument or hated practicing. Again, one of the things that my parents promoted to me, and I have spoken a lot to my students, is that it's really important to do everything. When you're a young person, school and everything you're involved in is kind of like a taste test. I think one's responsibility is to taste everything and decide what they like the best. And so I was able to do some of the other things, not specifically football, but whatever I was interested in. and still have time for the music.
You know, Bob, you're involved in so many things. The Dionysian Arts Ensemble, Easy Street Productions. Tell us a little bit about your career.
Well, it's been quite a hodgepodge of different experiences. I would say I'm a freelance musician, no doubt about that. I've been many places around the world. In Mexico City, lived there for a while. Been to Europe several times playing, and I've toured with a original rock music band here from Youngstown. Played in Carnegie Hall several times with orchestras, avant-garde music, chamber music, lots of different things like that. The groups you mentioned, the Dionysian Arts Ensemble, is something that's a wonderful part of my life and something that I hope will last for a long time. And the same thing with Easy Street Productions. For the people in the audience who don't know, that's the group that runs Pump Boys and Dinettes and also Putting on the Ritz. Both of these groups are a small ensemble, which is my favorite thing to do. With a large orchestra, you're one in a bunch. And when it's just a solo, there's too much ego.
Will you play something for us now?
Sure, I'd love to.
Okay. He's getting ready to play Carnival of Venice, and it's by John. And it's going to be a wonderful piece, and as he goes there to play for us, just enjoy what he's getting ready to do for us. Thanks for joining us. And until next week, I'm Sophia Brooks for Expressions.